What if everything you've been told about staying healthy as you age was only half the truth? You walk every day. You eat your greens. You stay active. But one day you try to lift your grocery bag and your shoulder gives out. Or you miss a step on the porch and your balance doesn't catch you in time. Not because you weren't trying, but because no one told you walking alone isn't enough. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 74. Lives just outside of Boise. And every morning, rain or shine, she laces up her sneakers and walks her quiet cul-de-sac. Neighbors wave. Birds sing. Her Fitbit lights up green. For years, she believed that walk was her secret to aging well. Until last fall. One missed step on a rug. One loud crack. A broken hip and 6 months of rehab. Helen's story isn't rare. In fact, it's quietly common. And it raises a question worth asking. What else are we missing? What habits, beyond walking, can truly protect our strength, balance, and freedom as we age? In the next few minutes, we'll walk through 10 powerful, doctor-backed practices that go beyond that daily stroll. Not just exercises, but lifelines. From balance to breath, from strength to sleep. Each one designed to help you not just live longer, but live better on your own terms. So grab a cup of tea. Get comfortable. Because what you're about to hear might just change how you move through the world. Let's begin with the first step, and it's not what you think. Helen used to think she had good balance until she didn't. It wasn't during a hike or some icy sidewalk. It happened in her own kitchen. She was reaching for a jar of tea on the top shelf when her foot shifted just an inch. And down she went. No time to react. No second chance. The counter was right there, but her hand missed it by a breath. That's when she realized balance isn't about agility. It's about survival. As we age, our muscles change. Not just in strength, but in coordination. The tiny stabilizers in our ankles, hips, and core, the ones that used to work without asking, begin to fade into the background. Walking, while wonderful for the heart, does very little for those quiet heroes. It doesn't train the body to respond in the split second between upright and on the floor. Doctors are sounding the alarm. Falls are now the #1 reason older adults lose their independence. Not disease. Not memory loss. Falls. So what can we do? Turns out it doesn't take fancy gyms or expensive routines. It starts with a small rebellion against gravity. Try this. Stand by your kitchen counter. Place one foot directly in front of the other like you're walking a tightrope. Now walk 10 slow steps. Feel your ankles working? That's balance waking up. Or lift one foot off the ground just a few inches. Hold for 20 seconds. Switch sides. It may feel silly at first, even wobbly. But that wobble? That's your nervous system reconnecting with muscles it forgot it had. Even seated, you can train balance. Leg lifts, gentle core activations, twisting from the torso all build the resilience that one day might catch you before the fall. Helen started practicing a few of these movements daily just 5 minutes after brushing her teeth. Months later, she told her daughter, "I still walk every morning. But now I know I'm not just moving forward. I'm standing taller." The lesson? Walking may carry you, but balance protects you. It's your invisible shield against the sudden, the sharp, the unseen. And if balance is your shield, then strength, true body strength, is your armor. That's exactly what we'll explore next. Shall we keep going? Frank used to be the strongest man on his block. At 70, he could still carry 2 bags of mulch across the yard and swing his grandkids up into the air like they weighed nothing. But just a few years later, things started to shift. It was small at first. Getting up from the recliner took more effort. Twisting a jar lid felt awkward. Then came the moment that stayed with him. He tried to lift a cooler into the back of his car and felt his knees buckle. He didn't fall, but something inside him did. That something had a name. Sarcopenia, the natural, slow loss of muscle that comes with age. It begins around 50 and accelerates with every passing decade. By the time you're in your 70s or 80s, it can rob you of up to 30% of your muscle mass. And here's the truth most people miss. Walking doesn't stop it. Sure, it keeps the legs moving, but it doesn't build resistance. And without resistance, your muscles, especially in the arms, back, and core, start to quietly disappear. But here's the good news. It's never too late to fight back. Frank did. He started with the simplest move, standing up from a chair without using his hands. 10 reps a day. Then 15. Next came wall push-ups, hands flat against the hallway wall, slow and steady presses. No weights. No gym. Just gravity and intention. After a few weeks, he added a resistance band. A stretchy strip of rubber that looked harmless until it set his biceps burning. But that burn felt good. It felt alive. Here's a simple routine anyone can start. Chair squats builds leg and core strength. Wall push-ups engages chest, shoulders, triceps. Can curls use soup cans to work the arms. March in place strengthens hip flexors and balance. Just 10 to 15 minutes, 3 times a week can rebuild not just muscle, but confidence. Frank said it best. I don't want to feel young again. I just want to feel like me again. And he does. Because strength isn't about lifting heavy things. It's about lifting yourself out of bed, off the ground, into life. And while strength builds your armor, there's another element you need to keep your heart and lungs strong. It's time we talk about cardio that really counts. Let's explore that in the next part. Every Saturday morning, 2 neighbors, Marvin and Doug, walk to the farmer's market together. Both are in their early 70s. Both walk every day. But when it comes to picking up a bag of oranges or bending to tie a shoe, their stories split. Doug bends easily, carries bags in both hands, even lifts his toddler grandson high into the air without hesitation. Marvin? He struggles. His knees wobble. His grip slips. Sometimes he asks for help just to carry a bag of apples back to the car. So what made the difference? It wasn't diet or steps logged on a pedometer. It was strength training. Doug started a light bodyweight routine 5 years ago after a minor back scare. Marvin didn't because he thought walking was enough. This contrast isn't rare. In fact, it's happening to millions every day. Without realizing it, we're building one of 2 things. Green square strength through resistance, engagement, and intentional movement. Red square fragility through neglect, over-reliance on walking, and fear of doing too much. The truth is, muscles don't disappear overnight. They retreat when we stop asking them to work. And when they go, everything follows: balance, mobility, energy, even confidence. Let's bring it home with something practical. Try this test right now. Sit in a sturdy chair. Cross your arms over your chest. Now try to stand up without using your hands. Can you do it? If not, you've already lost significant lower body strength. But the good news? You can get it back. Like Doug, start small. Squats using your kitchen counter for balance. Light dumbbells or even water bottles for arm curls. Calf raises while brushing your teeth. Core squeezes while sitting on the couch. It's not about looking like a bodybuilder. It's about keeping your independence alive. Marvin finally joined Doug for a kitchen workout one Sunday afternoon. He laughed, sweated, and said something beautiful. You know, I'm not trying to get strong. I'm just tired of feeling fragile. A few weeks later, he carried his own groceries home. So ask yourself, with every day that passes, are you building strength or letting fragility sneak in? And while strength guards your muscles, there's something just as vital that guards your heart. Not the emotional one, your actual heart. Every morning, Henry takes the same loop around his neighborhood. 3 blocks, a light breeze, sometimes with his dog Max trailing behind. Neighbors wave. He waves back. He's 76, and for years, that walk was his ritual, a quiet reassurance that he was doing his part to stay healthy. But lately, Henry's been feeling different. He gets winded climbing stairs. His energy dips by lunchtime. And at his last doctor's visit, the nurse raised an eyebrow at his blood pressure. But I walk every day, he said. To which the doctor replied gently, that's a good start, Henry. But your heart needs more than just a stroll. Here's the truth many of us never hear. Walking at a slow, steady pace isn't always enough to train the cardiovascular system. It keeps you moving, yes, but it may not challenge your heart, lungs, or circulation in a meaningful way. As we age, our lung capacity shrinks, blood vessels stiffen, and the heart becomes less efficient. To counter that, we need movement that makes the heart work a bit harder without overexerting the joints. So what does that look like? It could be cycling on a stationary bike while listening to your favorite radio show, swimming laps or joining a gentle water aerobics class at your local pool, dancing in your living room to Elvis or the Supremes, or even flowing through a simple Tai Chi routine in the backyard as the sun rises. The key is rhythm and breath. Enough movement to feel your heart beating, not racing, but awake. Doctors recommend aiming for 30 minutes of moderate cardio 3 to 5 times per week. Even in 10-minute chunks, it still counts. Henry didn't join a gym. He simply swapped out one of his weekly walks for a senior-friendly cycling class at the community center. He loved the music, the smiles, the gentle encouragement. And within weeks, the stairs at home felt lighter. His breath steadier. He told me something I'll never forget. I thought I was slowing down because I was getting old. But turns out I just wasn't breathing deep enough to keep up. The lesson? Walking is beautiful. But for your heart, variety is vital. Move in ways that make your blood sing, not just flow. And while your heart carries your rhythm, your muscles are what carry you through each day. So in the next part, we'll talk about how to preserve the muscle you've worked so hard to build before time quietly takes it away. Janet used to love tending her little backyard garden. Tomatoes, bell peppers, even a stubborn rosemary bush that refused to die. But this past spring, something shifted. She bent down to pull weeds and struggled to get back up. Reaching for a bag of potting soil, her arms gave a tiny tremble. She laughed it off at first, must be a sleepy morning. But the truth lingered in her body, something felt weaker. Janet had started strength training 2 years ago after a fall in her bathtub. She worked hard to rebuild her strength, slow squats, resistance bands, light weights. And it worked. But somewhere along the way, when she started feeling better, she stopped. Because she thought she'd already fixed it. Here's what no one really talks about. Muscle is like a bank account. You don't just save it once and forget it. You have to keep depositing, or the balance goes down. And after 65, the withdrawals come faster whether you want them to or not. That's why doctors don't just recommend building strength. They urge you to preserve it through consistency, not intensity. Let's get practical. If you've already done the hard work of getting stronger, fantastic. But the next step is to protect that progress. Try this simple muscle maintenance plan. 2 to 3 short sessions a week, even 15 minutes is enough. Use light resistance, bands, small weights, body weight. Focus on core, hips, legs, and shoulders, your mobility muscles. Repeat movements you know work for you instead of chasing complexity. Janet made a new rule for herself. If she could scroll her phone for 10 minutes, she could do her chair squats first. That one shift changed everything. Within a month, she was back in the garden, kneeling, lifting, and smiling like herself again. She said something powerful. I don't want to start over every time I slip. I want to stay ready. The lesson? Don't wait for weakness to return. Stay stronger, longer, by making small, consistent deposits into your muscle bank. And just as our muscles need maintenance, so do our joints, those hinges of movement that let us twist, bend, and turn. But walking alone won't keep them smooth. That's why in the next part, we'll explore how to unlock true mobility and freedom. Charles always considered himself fairly active. He wasn't running marathons, but he walked the neighborhood, lifted light weights, even did a few stretches before bed. But one day, as he backed out of his driveway, he realized something troubling. He couldn't turn his neck far enough to see behind him. Not comfortably. Not quickly. It wasn't pain. It was stiffness, a creeping kind that had slipped in quietly like fog at dawn. That moment made him pause. Because mobility isn't just about being flexible. It's about moving with ease through real life. Turning to check blind spots. Reaching a top shelf. Tying your shoes without holding your breath. All the little things we take for granted until they become difficult. Here's the difference doctors point out. Flexibility is how far a muscle can stretch. Mobility is how well a joint can move with control and strength. You can touch your toes, but if your hips and spine don't move well together, you're still limited. And walking? While good for circulation, it does very little to maintain your full range of motion. So what did Charles do? He began small. Every morning, before his coffee, he stood in the hallway and did arm circles, hip swings, and ankle rolls. At first, it felt awkward. But after 2 weeks, something changed. He twisted more easily. Bent more comfortably. Even getting in and out of the car felt smoother, like oil to a rusty hinge. Want to try it? Here are a few gentle moves to restore mobility. Cat-cow stretches to awaken the spine. Seated twists to free up the waist. Standing side bends to open up the ribs and back. And if you have a foam roller, try it under your calves or upper back. Just 5 minutes can feel like a reset. Charles told his daughter one morning, "You know what I miss the most? Not youth, just ease. And I'm getting a little of that back." The lesson? Mobility is more than movement. It's freedom in your body, freedom to keep living the way you choose on your terms. And while moving freely is essential, so is something even more subtle, something we do 20,000 times a day without thinking. It's time to take a deeper breath. Because next, we'll explore the hidden power of how you breathe. Every afternoon at 3 o'clock, Eleanor sits by her window. The sun spills across the rug. A cup of warm tea rests on the table. And for a few minutes, she simply breathes. Slowly, gently, one hand on her belly, the other still. It's her quiet ritual and she swears by it. Not just for peace of mind, but for energy, sleep, and clarity. You see, Eleanor used to feel tired all the time, even after a full night's rest. She blamed her age. But it wasn't until her doctor asked, "Have you ever paid attention to how you breathe?" That something clicked. Most of us don't. As we grow older, lung capacity declines and we unconsciously slip into shallow chest breathing, quick, tight breaths that barely fill the lungs. This leads to less oxygen to the brain, more tension in the body, and a foggy kind of fatigue that's hard to name but easy to feel. And here's the surprise. Walking, stretching, even exercising can't fix poor breathing. You have to relearn it. Gently. Daily. Intentionally. That's what Eleanor did. She began with diaphragmatic breathing, sometimes called belly breathing. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your stomach. Inhale slowly through your nose, feeling the belly rise. Then exhale softly through your mouth, letting the belly fall. Repeat. 5 breaths. That's it. She also discovered something called box breathing, used by athletes and even Navy SEALs. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold again for 4. And repeat. She used it before bed to calm her mind, and it helped her sleep through the night for the first time in years. One more trick she loved? Humming. A soft, steady hum after each breath out. It not only slows the exhale, it stimulates the vagus nerve, reducing inflammation and lowering blood pressure. And it made her smile. She told her grandson last week, "Breathing used to be something I didn't think about. Now it's the first thing I do to feel alive again." The lesson? Breathing isn't just survival. It's restoration. And when done well, it's one of the most powerful tools we have to age with energy, calm, and clarity. But there's one more piece to the puzzle. Because after we've moved well, stretched well, and breathed well, what happens after all that matters just as much? Let's talk about how we recover and why it might be the secret weapon to aging strong. After her Tuesday chair yoga class, Lorraine always used to go straight from movement to chores. Fold the laundry. Sweep the porch. Start dinner. She figured if I'm already warm, might as well keep going. But by Thursday morning, her knees would ache, her back felt tight, and she couldn't quite explain why the stiffness wouldn't let up. One day, her instructor noticed. "Lorraine," she said gently, "you're doing the work. Now give your body time to say thank you." That's when Lorraine discovered something many of us overlook. Recovery isn't optional. It's part of the routine. And especially as we age, it might just be the most important part. When we move or walk, stretch, lift, bend, our muscles experience tiny micro-tears. That's how they grow stronger. But without recovery, those muscles never fully repair. Instead of progress, we get pain. Instead of strength, we get strain. And here's the key. Recovery doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the right kind of rest. So what did Lorraine do differently? She began a few simple rituals after every session. Legs up on the couch for 10 minutes to aid circulation. Gentle foam rolling along her calves and thighs to release tightness. A warm lavender compress on her neck while she sipped tea. And most importantly, stretching slowly, holding each pose longer than she thought she needed. No rushing. No distractions. Just quiet attention to her body. Within a few weeks, the difference was clear. She didn't wake up sore. She had more energy between workouts. And perhaps most importantly, she stopped dreading movement. Lorraine said, "For years, I treated recovery like a luxury. Now I know it's what makes everything else possible." The lesson? How you treat your body after activity determines whether you can do it again tomorrow. Recovery isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And speaking of wisdom, there's one element of aging well that's rarely talked about, yet affects every single movement, every drop of energy, and even your mood. It's what's on your plate. Because in the next part, we'll look at how nutrition fuels strength, especially after 65. Every Sunday, Harold made the same breakfast. A slice of toast, a little fruit, maybe a cup of coffee. Light, simple, and what he thought was healthy for a man in his 70s. But over time, Harold noticed something strange. He was exercising more, lifting light weights, doing stretches, even walking daily. But he didn't feel stronger. His arms felt thin. His legs tired quickly. He chalked it up to age until a registered dietitian gave him a reality check. "You're doing the work, Harold, but your muscles are starving." Here's what many people don't realize. After 65, our bodies become less efficient at using protein. That means we need more of it, not less, just to maintain the same level of strength. But most older adults? They eat less protein than they did in their 40s without even noticing. So what does the science say? Experts recommend aiming for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, especially at breakfast and lunch. That's the fuel your muscles need to recover, rebuild, and stay strong. Not sure what that looks like? Here are a few senior-friendly examples. 2 eggs plus a slice of whole grain toast plus Greek yogurt equals 25 g. A tuna salad sandwich plus handful of almonds equals 28 g. Lentil soup plus a boiled egg plus small piece of cheese equals 30 g. Protein shake with banana and milk equals quick and easy on tired days. And remember, it's not just about meat. Beans, tofu, cottage cheese, quinoa, nuts, plant, and dairy proteins count, too. Harold made one small change. He added a scrambled egg and half a cup of cottage cheese to his breakfast. He called it his muscle meal. 3 weeks later, his energy improved. By month 2, he could lift heavier groceries and smile while doing it. He shared something lovely at his church potluck. I always thought food was just fuel. Now I know it's medicine. For my body and for my strength. The lesson? You can't build muscle without movement, but you can't keep it without nutrition. Every bite is either helping you stand tall or slowly letting you shrink. And now that we've talked about movement, breath, recovery, and food, there's one final piece to tie it all together. One that asks you to pause, reflect, and choose how you want to age, not by accident, but with intention. Let's finish strong in the next and final part. Every evening, Margaret stands in front of her bathroom mirror. She smooths lotion on her hands, brushes her hair slowly, and whispers something to her reflection. We're still here. Let's do this again tomorrow. Margaret is 82. She's not training for a marathon. She's not trying to look younger than she is. She's simply choosing to age on her terms. Because the truth is, most people don't. Most people age by default. They wait until something breaks. Until a fall happens. Until a doctor says you're losing strength or you need help. They didn't plan to lose mobility. They just didn't plan not to. But you? You have another option. You can age by design. You can choose to move a little more intentionally. Breathe a little deeper. Add one more squat, one more stretch, one more egg to your plate. You can build balance, strength, endurance, recovery, mobility, breath, nutrition. Not all at once, but one moment at a time. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up for your own future. Let's take a moment to look back. Over these past few minutes, you've learned that walking is wonderful but not enough. That balance protects, strength supports, and mobility frees. That breathing heals, food builds, and recovery restores. That aging well isn't magic, it's a mosaic of small choices made daily. Margaret didn't always have a plan, but she made one. And now every time she climbs the stairs without gripping the rail, every time she lifts her great-granddaughter into her lap without wincing, she whispers again, we're still here. Let's keep going. The lesson? You don't have to grow older by accident. You can grow wiser by design. And every small act you make today paints the version of you who'll show up tomorrow. So, what will your first step be? A breath? A stretch? A simple walk with more intention? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what part of this journey spoke to you most. And if you found something helpful here, share it with someone you care about. Let's age forward together.